Hello viewers, myself CA Pankaj Shukla. I'm a chartered accountant and a law graduate in practice for more than 10 years. I usually deal in indirect taxation and critical matters of GST and other indirect taxes. Today, the topic of our discussion is clarification about applicability of GST and its rates on under construction and ready to move in property. Dear friends, first we need to understand about the applicability of GST. On what kind of properties GST is applicable. Dear friends, sale of a building is an activity or consideration which is neither a supply of goods nor a supply of services. Para 5 of Schedule 3 of CGST Act 2017. It means that sale of ready to move in or completed property does not attract GST. GST is payable only on under construction property as discussed below. What is provided in GST Act? As per GST Act, para 5B of CGST Act 2017, construction of complex building, civil structure, including a complex or building intended for sale to a buyer, wholly or partly, except where the entire consideration has been received after issuance of completion certificate, where required by the competent authority or after his first occupation, whichever is earlier, is a supply of service and liable to tax. It means that property for which completion certificate has been issued, no GST is applicable on ready to move in or completed property. From the given legislation, we can understand or it can be concluded that no GST is applicable on constructed property. Ready to move in flats and buildings where the sale takes place after the issuance of completion certificate by the government authorities. So the legislation we have read, we can understand that those properties, the liability to pay GST arises when the construction of building is done. There is no liability of GST on ready to move in properties or ready to move in buildings. The liability of GST is on under construction building. So when the competent authority gives the completion certificate of a building, then liability to pay GST does not arise. Liability to pay GST arises only on under construction properties. Then it can be concluded that when at the time of sale, if the occupancy certificate or completion certificate has been obtained, then the subject matter is not liable to tax. Apart from that, under construction property is liable to GST. Now we will understand the rates of GST. What are the rates of GST? Dear friends, GST Council in the 34th meeting held on 19th March 2019 has approved a transition plan for 5% rate on under construction flats and 1% on affordable housing, and has also increased the carpet area of flats under the affordable housing. Actually, the subject matter of GST rates has been a matter of much ambiguity. The rates has been revised from 1st April 2019, but there is still ambiguity in the sector. GST department has changed the rates, and the rates is categorized in residential sector and commercial sector. The residential sector is further categorized in two segments: affordable housing segment and non-affordable housing other than affordable housing segment. We will discuss about affordable housing and other than affordable housing. The rates are also different. As far as the rate of the changes of rates are concerned, in this transition plan, 5% rate is usually on residential real estate apartments, and 1% rate is for affordable housing, real estate apartments. And there is no change in the commercial sector. Commercial real estate apartments, there is no change, that is still taxable at the rate of 12%. Definition of, as far as definition of affordable housing, that is also expanded in this given legislation from 1st April 2019. Reduction in the GST rates is only for the residential projects, as I told you, and not for commercial projects. However, commercial projects up to 15% commercial space will be treated as residential property, meaning thereby the total apartment area, commercial any commercial establishment, any commercial project which is not exceeding the total apartment area by 15%, by its 15%, is will be treated as residential real estate apartment and will be taxed in the in the ambit of 5%. Now, we will need to understand that what are the change the new rates are applicable, and there are some conditions for applicability of new rates. The new tax rates will be available subject to the condition that ITC shall not be available. The input tax credit shall not be available, and 80% of inputs and input services should be purchased from registered person. Real estate developers will need to purchase 80% of its inputs and input services from registered dealers, registered persons under GST. And also, any shortfall in purchases from the registered persons shall lead the builder to pay the applicable higher GST. Higher GST means 18% GST on a reverse charge mechanism basis. Except cement. Cement is chargeable at 28%, or capital goods are charged at their applicable rates. Now, as far as the rates are concerned, earlier the rates will be flashing on the slides as well. Earlier the rate was on affordable housing segment, the rate was 8%, and on other than affordable housing segment the rate was 12%. And commercial sector the rate was also 12%. Now, after the change as applicable from 1st April 2019, there is 1% GST without ITC on affordable housing segment, and 5% GST on other than affordable housing residential segment. And as far as commercial segment is concerned, there is no change. There is a 12% rate with ITC. So we can see that now the change of rate is on affordable housing segment, the GST is reduced from 8% to 1%. And on other than affordable housing segment, GST is reduced from 12% to 5%. The benefit of ITC is not available to the developer, and the GST is chargeable and these reduced rates. Developers of the ongoing residential projects. Ongoing residential projects is an important criteria, important factor. Developers of the ongoing residential projects have also been given an one-time option to choose between the old tax rates with ITC and the new tax rate without ITC for under construction residential projects, so as to resolve any issues related to the input tax credit. The ongoing projects, the projects which were ongoing as on 1st April 2019, the developers of the projects have been given one-time opportunity to carry on the old rates on those ongoing projects. For this purpose, they will have to specifically exercise this option, that they are going to choose this option. For their ongoing projects, they will use the ITC and charge the that time applicable rate, that is 8% or 12%. The modality of new tax rate. As far as the modality of new tax rate is concerned, as I told earlier, that the real estate housing segment is divided in two sectors: affordable housing and non-affordable housing. As far as affordable housing is concerned, the GST is chargeable at 1%, as I told earlier, and no ITC is available. On non-affordable housing segment, GST is chargeable at 5%, no ITC is available. Now, this to understand this affordable housing and non-affordable housing, other than affordable housing. This affordable housing in metro area, what affordable house is? In metro area, The unit of residential apartment should not exceed 60 square meter, and the value of such house should not be more than 45 lakhs. In non-metro area, the area of the residential unit should be up to 90 square meter. It should not be more than 90 square meter. And the value of such unit should not exceed 45 lakh rupees. This is the affordable segment in metro area and non-metro area. The value of house is not changed in metro or non-metro, that is 45 lakhs for each. The area in square meter is different. For metro area it is 60 square meter, for non-metro area it is 90 square meter. And as I told earlier, that on non-affordable housing, GST rate is 5% and no ITC is available. So now we can see that there is a change in rate. The rate is reduced from 8%, 12% to 1% and 5%. This was really a good step and taken for boosting the real estate industry. So viewers, you can gain this knowledge and check nearby with the dealing persons, with the dealing developers, that GST is charged, GST is being correctly charged or not. If there were any ongoing projects till now, whether the benefit of ITC, if the developer is taking the benefit of ITC, and whether the benefit of ITC is passed on to the consumers or not. And when and as far as this option was concerned, now after 1st April 2019, there is no option for new projects. The builder has no option for new projects. He cannot opt to avail the ITC and charge the older rates on new projects. On new projects, it is mandatory to follow the new rates only. The concept of old rates was available for the ongoing projects, and also the ongoing project, the option of old rates was available where the builder has exercised the option. Specifically, the builder needed to exercise the option that for such ongoing projects, the builder is intended to follow the old rates and avail the benefit of ITC. Where the option was not exercised, the new rates were applicable. And apart from this, as far as the development rights are concerned, development rights, we can say transferable development rights, joint development agreements, FSIs and lease premiums, etc. These are exempt if GST is payable on in product houses, and taxable if GST is not exempt. So, as far as the transaction is concerned, this transition option, how we should see in the slide that how the transition occurred, how should the transition occur, and how the transitions occurred on ongoing projects. Builder need to continue to pay tax at old rates, where the effective rate on affordable house and other than affordable housing segment was 8% and 12% respectively, and input tax credit was also available.